part of both the promise, but the peril of these AI tools, especially as the models continue to get smarter, is they can do just about anything. Software tools could do a very specific set of things, and you could learn that. The challenge and opportunity with AI is because they can do everything, you need to be guided in how to actually use them to be useful to you. And if you're a banker and you're thinking about, hey, how can I use these AI tools to be a thought partner to me or to deliver a SIM or a draft S1 or what have you to a client more quickly, or change the way we pursue a transaction, you need someone to direct you. Part of what they see that a kind of, technologist, even a technologist deeply steeped with AI, can't see is how to actually deliver that technology in a way that, transforms the life of, a banker or investor or a finance executive using our technology because they've lived it, because they understand this is actually the wedge use case that opens up that habit loop. This is actually what addresses the myriad frictions that a senior banker or a junior banker or a sell-side research analyst encounters in their work that someone from the outside wouldn't even really appreciate. I'll give you a little example. Every junior banker, for example, has a set of models that are linked up to an S&P or a FactSet or another financial data provider. Those models are, almost inextricable from the formulas that tie to those underlying data sources. If you want to have an AI agent come in and work with those models on behalf of the bankers, that agent needs to know how to navigate those formulas and edit FactSet formulas, edit S&P formulas natively. The off-the-shelf tools can't do that. A technologist wouldn't even realize that was in the workflow. Our bankers get it and then, can be the bridge between the users and the AI in making that kind of model automation, model acceleration happen.
Sometimes I do wonder though, even though AI doesn't know what it doesn't know, sometimes that's cool because there's this weekly process I do to update all the valuation multiples and all these fancy charts that I put in my newsletter. And it takes 5 manual steps that I have to do in this process. With AI, I ended up just skipping 3 of them and just making them as images rather than PowerPoint. So there's something to be said about both sides of it, of teaching AI how it's been done and the stuff it won't know that are earned secrets from the process that you learn. But also is there a way to expedite this by cutting 7 things out of the process because we couldn't do that before?
Yeah, I'm so glad you said that because, that's another bit where the domain depth and empathy really matters. AI companies are focused on automating artifacts. An artifact could be in the financial industry, a model or a deck, taking that and having an AI agent replicate that. But one thing you realize when you're in these industries, when you've been a banker, you've been an investor, is that particular form, that artifact, exists because of a specific set of constraints. With AI, those constraints are relaxed or gone. And so, for example, what a lot of our forward deployed bankers are doing with clients is, hey, you can make PowerPoint decks, great. But actually with agents, you can now set up interactive dashboards for your clients. They're not looking at a static PDF, for example. They're looking at, in evaluating a transaction, something that they can query in real time and toggle and play with for different scenarios so that you can get to a much richer set of analyses for, the way a company might be valued, for example. The research analysts on our platform and the firms that we work with, instead of just shipping PDFs to their clients, the traders, the hedge fund managers, et cetera, they can do that. They can leverage the agents to build that. They're actually making agents of themselves available to the traders so that those folks can leverage the expertise of this person in real time. They're still going to want to have their interactions with the human, with all the judgment and the access, but that they can have their John Smith, Jane Doe research analyst agent review their work, and they can query that person in real time and ask questions at 3 a.m. when the sell side analyst might not be available. Those sorts of, in some ways, completely new frontiers for how financial information is exchanged, how decisions are made. That's the exciting part, but that's where it's easy to miss if you're sitting on the outside and you're just trying to replicate the workflow or the artifact that exists.
And both things can be true, right? You don't get to jump to that point of skipping those steps and having a new paradigm of how to get to that output if you don't show AI the context of why you were at least doing that. But I do think it's incumbent upon us as knowledge workers to be willing to accept that, dude, you may not even need that model thing anymore. Yes, it was important to upload for the context, but you can get to that output. You just got to think about it differently.
And so much of the technology investment in some ways in the agentic layer is going to habits of work.
That's the word I was looking for. That's exactly what it is. It's just ingrained in you. You do it that way.
Take PowerPoint slides.
They're not that great at moving logos around.
In a couple of years, when agents are doing most of that just basic exchange, the concept of needing to have a printed PowerPoint slide will feel as antiquated as taking a horse-drawn carriage to get to where you need to go. We just need to your point, lay some of the groundwork now and have this hybrid situation where you have agents doing 80% of the work and then kind of human beings stepping in the last 20. But once you have sort of pure agent to agent or agent-led work, I think we're going to move past that horse-drawn carriage era and go right to the next one.
Rahul, I'm going to take you into what we call our long-ass lightning round. So I ask every successful person who comes on the show, you got to give me one thing you've messed up on the job before. You've got to messed up something in investment banking before.
More times than I care to admit. I think it's been long enough, CJ, that I can say this. When I was a new associate, I had just come in from government. I was self-studying wherever I could find the time on corporate finance concepts. Didn't have any of that in my background. I still vividly remember being in the middle of a deal and having made just a little arithmetic mistake, but one that cascaded and resulted in a fairly different output for how to think about discounted cash flow for a fairly large business. I thought that was the end of my finance career.
Oh, I've had that feeling. Like, this is it. This is how it all ends.
This is how it all ends. I was staring into the mirror. Eventually, I fessed up to my mistake. I managed to avoid getting fired, maybe just out of pure pity. I never made that same mistake again. And we managed to correct that mistake before it ended up in a regulatory filing or a board document. It's partly, by the way, what I think gets me excited about these AI tools, and that I imagine there are myriad such mistakes happening all across Wall Street, some of which get caught and many of which don't. Owning the mistake up front. And frankly, had I gotten to that part sooner rather than fretting about it for a day or two and imagining my demise, ultimately owning the mistake led to an outcome that could be managed and one that I learned from. Resisting the temptation to try to sweep it under the rug or kind of wish it away was an important lesson for me.
Here's a growth tax that nobody talks about. Every new pricing model you ship creates a nightmare for your finance team. Usage-based pricing, now you're tracking usage against commitments. Product bundles, now you're untangling what to recognize and when for every line item. Mid-cycle upgrades, good luck manually reallocating revenue. The pricing strategies that drive growth are the same ones that break your finance process. Right Rev turns that irony into a competitive advantage. Your product team can ship new pricing without asking finance for permission, and your sales team can close deals without worrying about downstream chaos. But I've seen too many companies where sales are celebrating a huge quarter while finance is still trying to figure out how to recognize half of it. It's actually me. So here's a good place to start. RightRev built a free tool at calculator.rightrev.com. It scores your RevRec process, shows what's exposing you to risk, and tells you exactly where to focus before it bites you in the rear. Probably explains why your last close took so long. Check it out at calculator.rightrev.com. All right, without the Boston accent, calculator.rightrev.com.